Last week we started reading the Gospel of Mark together on Sunday mornings as a congregation, and I talked about what do you do when the New Testament quotes the Old Testament or the Hebrew Testament. And one of the resources we're using is N.T. Wright's Mark for Everyone, and I love this series. I've been using it since it first came out, like I think almost 20 years ago, and it's just so helpful. N.T. Wright has some really this like approachable analogies that make things understandable. But once in a while, his Britishness and his elite education come out, and that's less helpful. So one of the things I had talked about is every time the New Testament quotes the Old Testament, and I got this from N.T. Wright, you have to go back and look at the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible, the context, because he says it's like somebody referencing a Shakespearean play. Like you might get the line in it, but you won't get the broader context. Like if you knew it was Hamlet or King Lear or Macbeth, you would understand the role that line played in the larger narrative, the plot. So I've been using that for more than 10, 15 years, and it's never, I don't know Shakespeare. It's never sat that well with me as a helpful or useful analogy. And so I've been thinking about, ever since I used it last week, I spent a lot of time this week thinking like there has to be a better way to talk about this to help people understand the significance of doing the background work. And then it dawned on me. So here's the scenario. Let's say that you were talking with a friend of yours about a conflict you were having at work with a younger coworker. And while you're talking about this with your friend, your phone goes off. It's a text message from your coworker. And your friend says, well, what do they say? And you read it and he said, I stare directly in the sun, but never in the mirror. You go, what the heck's that supposed to mean? So your friend says, it's from the song. What song? You know, the Taylor Swift song. I have no idea what you're talking about. It's from they're admitting that your coworker's admitting that they're the problem. It's their fault. It's them. And you might go, how are you getting that from that odd line? You say it's in the song, hey, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me. You're like, so? You're like, no. They're admitting that they're the problem, they're the cause of the problem. And you might go, well, why didn't they just say that? You say, well, they're being clever or playful or, a little bit elusive. It's sort of a more lyrical way of acknowledging like, hey, this is my bad. This is on me. This is my fault. You say, well, why didn't they just say like, hey, I'm going to take 80% of the blame for this 80-20 split, right? So I'm sorry. And you go, well, come on, man. It's like language isn't exacting. This isn't math. It's poetry. They're alluding to something. They're trying to clue you into something. So that's my analogy is like, if you got a lyric of a song, but you didn't recognize what it was, and you had to go back and look at the song to figure out the broader context, there's some work that's needed. And so it's like this as we go through the Gospel of Mark, every time that it references the Old Testament, and this isn't just true in the gospel writers, it's also true in the epistles, but a number of people have pointed out that the New Testament authors had a very dubious and highly selective relationship with the Hebrew Bible. And it's something that as 21st century Gentiles, we are often either negligent on or just oblivious to. So there's an art, there's a humility, there's a seriousness that bears a lot of fruit, which is to go back. So I'll give you for instance, in Mark chapter 1 last week, there was this quote from a prophet. And if you saw the line, right, about John the Baptist, you would see like, okay, make straight paths for the Lord, like, right? And if you just, so this is why a lot of people who say they read the Bible literally, I get what they're trying to say. But if you ever hear the phrase, a straightforward reading of the Bible, you know, be a little cautious, because for instance, in this case, if you take the time to go back and actually read where that reference comes from, you're going to learn so many interesting things. For instance, the context is specifically about Jerusalem. And it's about her time of captivity or oppression coming to an end because her iniquities, her sins have been paid for. And many other things that are going to become really important and quite essential, actually, to the story that Mark's going to tell us. Now, the first century audience would have known these references, these allusions, and like the John the Baptist character would have been familiar to them as some sort of archetypal, like Elijah character. Like if I was in this video, if I had on a powdered wig and an axe and I was carrying a part of a cherry tree, you might know what character I'm playing. Or if I had a big long beard, an Amish style beard, and a stovetop hat, you might get that. Or if I was standing in front of a big pool of water and I said that I have a dream, like, you would know what I was alluding to. Well, that's the situation, and why we need to be so diligent to track down whenever the New Testament quotes the Old Testament, to actually go back and read that passage, because there are things in the surrounding text that could be as vital to understanding the story as the actual line quoted. As important as that is, sometimes it's what's going on in the larger setting that is helping to tell the story. And it's something that we're going to continue to do as we go through and read this Gospel of Mark together. I would love your thoughts about my Taylor Swift analogy, and if that works for you. For me, it works better than any Shakespearean reference, and I think it's going to be really helpful going forward. I look forward to chatting with you soon.